You read through your notes or your textbooks, your coursework, and it's just blank. Nothing seems to actually stick in your head, and you can't use any of the information in your exams, and everything seems to just be slipping away from your memory. Well, I know this feeling, and I have been there, and I have actually found some techniques on how to actually master memory retention. Now, before I go into the 3 levels of actually memorizing something, I will just talk about spaced repetition because it's so important. This is one of the fundamentals if you want to get good grades or remember what you read or anything similar like that. There is a curve called the forgetting curve. And when you read something, the curve goes like this. You start to actually lose the things that you have remembered. And at the end, you only retain about 20% of the things that you have read. But if you read it over and over and over again, the curve actually flattens out and you will start remembering everything completely without losing it. But you have to do this every once in a while. You have to update yourself with information for this to actually stick in your brain. Now, when we have the memory curve and spaced repetition out of the way, you need to pair it with level 1 or level 2 or level 3. I have given these 3 levels their names because you can use them all by themselves, you can use them together, but level 1 is the simplest and the most ineffective. We have level 2, which is good if you actually want to start, and level 3, which is at the end of the video, is my favorite, and it will change the game if you haven't tried it. Let's start with number 1. This technique isn't really a technique. It's a simple thing to do, and you have probably done this already, but you haven't really thought about it. But it is to read it 3 times, say it 2 times, and write it 1 time. Now, why is this effective? Well, for the first step, when you read it 3 times, you get a good idea and maybe an understanding about the content you are reading about. And step number 2, when you say it out loud 2 times, that is to actually get a deep understanding of what you are reading. And then we have step number 3, where you write it 1 time. And this is super important. You need to write it with a pen and a paper. I use Notability for my iPad, but it can be anything. And then you just do this. That's it. But be sure to write it, because that is the part where you actually retain and memorize it. This is called the 3-2-1 method, if you want to keep it in mind. Then we have level number 2. This is not complicated at all. It's a specific technique called blurting. And when you do blurting, you start by reading the text, same as level 1, but you take out a notebook and you write down every single piece that you can remember of what you read from the text. And you write down every single detail and information that you can come up with. It's super important so you don't miss anything. And then you read the text once more, but this time you read this text that you have written down and try to correct or fill out spaces that you have missed and forgot. The things that you have forgot are super important, because if you study them, you will start retaining everything and you will memorize it. I usually take the chunks that I forgot and just make it to flashcards, Anki or Quizlet. Doesn't really matter, and I study them. But of course you can just do blurting again until you can't find any gaps in your knowledge. Then we have level number 3. This is life-changing, so you need to watch this part closely. I would actually write down everything I say, but it's up to you. This is the memory palace technique. You connect things and rooms in your environment to specific terms and subjects that you want to study. Now, I'm here at my desk setup. Maybe I want to study about 20th century history, and I want to study about Chernobyl, which was a big part of the 20th century. Chernobyl was a nuclear plant, and I actually have a plant right here. And here I can connect the information about Chernobyl to this plant. So whenever I need to bring up that information, I know that it will be connected to this specific plant on my table, because you can remember the information and environment around you. Try to just visualize the bedroom or the living room that you have without being in it. You'll be surprised at how many details you actually can come up with. And then you just read the text, pick a room, and you just connect everything around it. And you can also add imaginary objects in your room that connect with the actual subject. I've talked about it before, but I actually watched some master in memory palace technique actually show how he had a fake landing strip on his table, and it was always there, and it reminded him of the movie Top Gun, which he studied about. I don't remember the details, but it was something about it, and he made that up because he found a connection. So a memory palace is finding connections between the environment and the things that you want to learn, because when you do that, you learn it fast, and you will be surprised how fast it is, and you only get better with time. But you also sort the information into chunks. So let's say I have my bedroom, and I automatically always connect this bedroom to math, and my living room I always connect to history, for example. So if I want to bring up specific information about history, I only visualize my living room, and that's it. You will find every single piece of information there. So it's like sorting and making a library for yourself inside your brain. It's really cool when you get the hang of it. Before we leave this video and you try the memory palace or the blurting or the 3-2-1 method, you should try to understand the topic. Now this may sound like a cliche, but it's so important to actually understand the topic and then memorize it, because if you only try to memorize it, it will take twice as much time, and you will probably forget it in the long term. And you want to understand the information, right? That's why we learn it, to understand and to apply it in our personal life or professional life. So please don't take the shortcut and just memorize it to just write it on a test. If you understand it, it will be so much better in the long term. And this comes from a student who always used to just memorize every single little bit of information and then just completely forget about it. But now things have changed, and I'm so happy about it. So please do it for yourself as well. So if you found this helpful, please like this video so other people can share it, other people can find it, so that they probably can get a better memory as well. Thank you guys, and hope you got some insight in this.